Hello again. Welcome to Friday, Faith Night Friday. It's going to take me a minute to get into the habit of saying this all the time. And I've been trying every week, like little by little, I'm always trying to say, I gotta, like nail these phrases down, because this is how I'm introducing my nights. And if I can't say them right, then I feel bad. Anyway, hello again. My name is Emma, and yeah, welcome. Okay, so what we are doing, get off of him. Just get off the bed. What we're doing, we are in Judges. I think we left off in Judges, and again, we are reading off the book, the Bible in 52 weeks, and we are on chapter, I think we already moved on to we are now on week 15. So that's where we're at right now. So if you see me looking here, looking over there, it's because I have two cameras on me, okay? Okay, so I was reading, where was I? I was reading Judges. And you have to excuse me because I have a cold. It's like, oh my God, my nose is just bothering me so bad. So we started at 15, and then we ended at 17. So we started, I was reading about Samson and Delilah. I think we had read a little bit more about him last week, but last week it was so much about him attacking tribes because his wife was what happened last week? Oh God. Oh, he kind of like defiled his family. He wanted to do things, his way, and the wife too was kind of like not really, helping him out neither. Oh, I gotta memorize this stuff, Jesus. So, cause she was like, he had done this riddle, or he was talking about this riddle, and she didn't really know what it meant neither. So she kept on asking him, tell me what it means so I can tell these guys. And but at the end, it's like the riddle wasn't really solved. I mean, not really per se. It wasn't like one of those parables. I mean, he just says, what could be sweeter than honey, what could be stronger than a lion. And Samson replied, if you hadn't been plowing with my cow, you wouldn't know the answer now. So then that was it. I was like, what does it mean? But that whole part was about him defiling the family. He, even though he was raised up in a Christian home and everything, he, like everybody else these days, you're just living life, in your own accord. Even though you know the word, even though you know about about the Christian or the way your parents brought you up, even though you have that knowledge behind you, we always seem to put it on the back burner and say, yeah, I know, but I'm not gonna live that way right now. I got other things to think about. So we always tend to leave it on the back burner, which is bad because it could bite us in the butt later on. So yeah, it'll always come back at us. So that's where we were at last week. Okay, so I did write some things down for 15. Let me see. What did I write down for 15? What I do is I try to underline everything that that I wrote. Do I have the right book? Uh-oh, I don't think I have the right book. Let me see. Yeah, I do have the right book. Okay, so 15, 11. Okay. So again, we are still on reading about Samson and how he ended up, I don't remember if his wife he gave his wife. Oh my God, I can't turn this page. What's going on? I know there's two, maybe there's not 2 pages here. Yeah, okay, no, there isn't 2 pages. I thought there were 2 pages here. Okay, so in Judges 15, Samson's wife is burned to death. Oh, I was supposed to look up these words and I forgot how to pronounce them. So Samson in 15, so
get off the bed. Get off. Get off.
okay, so in 14, his wife was given to his best friend. So because of that, he ended up, well, he lost it. You know, he got mad. You know, you gave my bride that I was like probably waiting for like forever, and instead of you giving her to me, you gave it to my best friend instead. And then the father goes, oh, well, you know, you can have, he goes, I gave her to your friend, but her younger sister is prettier anyway. You can have her instead. But Samson said, this time I'm not going to be responsible. Leave him alone. I'm not going to be responsible for what I do to the Philistines. So he went and caught 300 foxes, 2 at a time. He tied their tails together and put torches in the knots. Then he set the fire to the torches and turned the foxes loose in the Philistines' wheat fields. And in this way, he burned up all the wheat that had been harvested, but also the wheat that was still in the fields. So he was so mad that he went to the Philistines where they usually do their harvest and everything, all the wheat. He burnt down the wheat that they had harvested and even the stuff that was left behind that was still there. So he burnt down everything. So what happened was that the Philistines who had done this, and they had learned that it was Samson who had done it. So in this turn, because his father-in-law, a man from Timnah, had given Samson's wife to a friend of Samson's, so the Philistines went and burnt the woman to death and burned down his father's house as well. So because he did that, they went and they killed, you know, that wife that was supposed to be his, and the father as well. So that was kind of sad. It was like, holy cow, you know, jeez. But yeah, so the wife was burnt, and then when he found out about that, he was like, you know. Then the Philistines came and camped in Judah and attacked the towns of Lehi. The men of Judah asked them, why are you attacking us? They answered, we came to take Samson prisoner and treat him as he treated us. So these 3,000 men of Judah went to the cave in the cliff at Etam and said to Samson, don't you know that, he goes, don't you know that the Philistines are our rulers? And he goes, what have you done to us? And he answered, I did to them just what they did to me. They told him, we have come here to tie you up so we can hand you over to them. And that one, I think this is where he says, all right, oh, I can't see. He goes, all right. They said, no. Samson said, give me your word that you won't kill me yourselves. Goes, all right. They said, we are only going to tie you up and hand you over to them. We won't kill you. So they tied him up with 2 new ropes and brought him back from the cliff. When he got to Lehi, the Philistines came running towards him, shouting at him. Suddenly, the power of the Lord made him strong, and he broke the ropes around his arms and hands as if they were burnt thread. Like, you know, he tore them off of him so easily. Hippo, that's enough. That's enough. Settle down. Go sit down somewhere. Go sit down for a little while. Go sit down. So then he found a jawbone and a donkey that had recently died. He reached out and picked it up and killed 1,000 men with it. So, Hippo, didn't I just say to go sit down?
I'm trying to cover this.
You don't need to cover him. Go sit down. Okay. So, some of these, I still have to try to, you know, I was going to, but I didn't have time to figure out what, you know, how to pronounce these names. But I do have a Bible commentary. It looks like this, okay? And usually I feel if you're gonna, I'm serious, I need you to sit still. Are you listening to me? I need you to sit still. Leave the cover alone. Leave the cover alone. Sit still.
But I was trying to play with her.
I know. Can you just wait for a minute? Please just hold on. Okay. So usually when you're reading the Bible, because it's really hard to try to think about, okay, well, I'm reading the Word and I need to know what the Word is trying to tell me. But half the time we don't know, because no one there is literally teaching you and telling you what that chapter is trying to say. So usually if you're going to have get into the Word on your own, pick up a commentary. Especially for if it's like for chapter by chapter for the Bible, it really helps a lot. Reading stories or inspirational stories about what that chapter meant will also help a lot. But a commentary will help a whole lot more. And if you don't know what it means, Google it. What is this chapter in Judges 15 trying to say? You know, and try to find out. There's always a way for you to find out what the Lord was trying to do and say in that chapter. So if you can't find it on your own, if you don't understand a commentary, which are usually just forthright, I mean, they just throw it out there plainly, then find a commentary, because it says so much. So let me give you an idea. So we have the commentary for 15, and it goes, when life is motivated by retaliation, the consequences are usually painful. Responding to Samson's anger, his intended father-in-law retaliated by giving away Samson's bride. Then Samson retaliated by burning the Philistines' harvest. And the Philistines, in turn, burnt the bride and her father, who finally won. It's like, it was nobody won. Nobody won here. So then the men of Judah became frightened and tried to get Samson out of the way. They would rather compromise with the enemy than to declare war. Had Samson been a spiritual man and not just a fighter, he could have led them forth to victory. But he preferred to work alone and not as the leader of the crusade. All it took was a thirst to remind Samson of his weakness and his total dependence on God. Had he prayed as earnestly for character as he did for physical help, he would have been a better man and a more successful job. Like the prodigal son, he prayed, "Give me," but he did not. But never did pray, "Make me." So In other words, again, everybody retaliated against one another, and even though he got the victory, even though he won by killing 1,000 of those men with that jawbone, but still, it's more like you did it on your own, and you really didn't have God's help. But God did help you, because he did cry that he was thirsty. He goes, oh, you're going to leave me here? You're going to leave me to without being able to eat or drink anything. So I piled them. Okay, so with the jawbone of a donkey, I killed 1,000 men. I killed. It's not like he said the Lord helped me and I killed 1,000 men. Which, with the jawbone of a donkey, I piled them up in piles. After that, he threw the jawbone away. The place where this happened was named Ramath Lehi. Then Samson became very thirsty, so he called to the Lord. Now he calls the Lord and said, you gave me this great victory. Am I now going to die of thirst and be captured by these heathen Philistines? Then God opened a hollow place in the ground there at Lehi, and water came out of it. Samson drank and began to feel much better. So the spring was named Hakor, and it is still there at Lehi. Samson led Israel for 20 years while the Philistines ruled the land. So even though, the Lord did help them, help them to get the victory, but it's like, well, I helped you once, I'm not going to let you die. I'm going to help you again. I'm going to give you this water so you can get up and continue your work. In other words. So the Lord did help him, even though he didn't really do it God's way. He did it his way. But the Lord still was there to help him out regardless. Okay, so now we go to, is there water running?
Huh?
Is there water running? Go check if there's water running in the kitchen. I hear something, but I don't know what it is. So we go on to, there's no water running? Okay, so then we go on to 16, and so because, okay, so Samson's wife is gone, that's it, she's kaput. Then he meets these two girls. He meets a prostitute, right? And then he meets Delilah later. But
he meets two
but this is weird, because not really, this prostitute, I don't know really what she did. One day Samson, this is Judges 16. One day Samson went to the Philistine city of Gaza, where he met a prostitute. He went to bed with her. And the people of Gaza found out that Samson was there. So they surrounded the place and waited for him all night long at the city gate. I guess they wanted to capture him. They were quiet all night, thinking to themselves, wait until daybreak and then we will kill him. But Samson stayed in bed only until midnight. Then he got up and took hold of the city gate, pulled it down, doors, posts, lock and all. He put them on his shoulder and carried them far off to the top of the hill overlooking Hebron, which I'm not really sure where that was going. But then, well, I guess for some reason the Lord must have helped him again, because they thought he was going to be there all night, and he didn't. He was only there until midnight, and then he got up and he left. So they weren't able to capture him. So then he met, after this, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in Sorek Valley. Now, she was the one that, as we all seen the story, we all seen the movie, she was always wondering, and they asked her, what can you find about him that is the weakest point of his life, so we can overthrow him? What can you find out? So she would ask him every day, like she would ask him. So Delilah said to Samson, please tell me what makes you so strong. If someone wanted to tie you up and make you helpless, how could they do it? And she would ask things over and over and over again, and he would tell her, but then it wouldn't be true. So he would really like not really be honest, like he wasn't really going to tell her. So Samson, let me see, this is where we are. So Samson, they wanted to kill him. He fell in love with Delilah, and she asked Samson, the Philistines. Oh, the Philistine kings were the ones that asked Delilah to find out. So finally, he just kept bugging him and bugging him. Then finally, he says, "Okay, fine, I'll tell you the truth." After 3 times that he didn't, and then she goes, "You know, you had told me that this would be the thing that would make you the weakest, and it's not true. You did it 3 times. You lied to me 3 times." So finally he tells the truth, and he tells her that if his locks of hair would be cut off, then that is what would make his strength leave. So finally she did do that. She did cut his locks of hair. So Delilah got some new ropes and tied him up. Then she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are coming." The men were waiting in another room, but he snapped the ropes off his arms like thread. Let me see. Okay. So Delilah said to him, "You're still making a fool." That's when she said, and then he said, and finally told her the truth. Delilah lured him to sleep. Oh, he told her, if you weave my 7 locks of hair into a loom, and you make it tight with a pig, I'll be as weak as anybody else. So Delilah lured him to sleep, took his 7 locks of hair, and wove them into the loom. She made them as tight as a peg and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are coming." But he woke up and he pulled this hair from the looms. Okay, so then she goes, "You made a fool of me 3 times, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong." And she kept asking him. So where are we? Okay, so when Delilah realized that he was telling her the truth, finally this time, she sent a message to the Philistine kings and said, "Come back one more time. He told me the truth." Then they came and brought the money with them. Delilah lured Samson to sleep on her lap and then called the man who cut off Samson's 7 locks of hair. Then she began to torment him, for he had lost all his strength. Okay, so here we're going to see, God, remember, then Samson prayed, "Sovereign Lord, please remember me. Please, God, give me my strength just one more time, so that with this one blow I can get even with the Philistines for putting my eyes out." Oh yeah, because they plucked his eye out, or they burned his eyes. They did something like that, which ended up him not being able to see. But he did end up putting one hand on each column of the Philistines, putting my 2 eyes. So Samson took hold of 2 middle columns, holding up and building, putting his hands on each column. He pushed against them and shouted, "Let me die with the Philistines." He pushed with all his might, and the building fell down on the 5 kings and everyone else. Samson killed more people at his death than he killed during his life. But what happened was that he got his strength back because while he was in prison, his hair grew back. So that's why he had gotten his strength back. So that was incredible. It's like, not only did he lose his strength for them cutting it off, but he got it back when he regrew it. But it's sad because when he died, he told the Lord, "Just do this one more time for me." And God said, "Yeah, okay, no problem." But he ended up dying with the Philistines and everybody else that were around in that time in that building, which, you know, to me was pretty sad way of, you know, dying. You know, it's like, you know, he went too. So what does, what do you call it, say? For 17, for Judges 17, no, it was 16, right? Judges 16. So defilement in Judges 16, chapter 16, God has rescued Samson from so many tight places that he was sure he was invulnerable. So he continued to play with sin and defile himself. A spirit-filled, God-called leader had no right doing what Samson did. His body belonged to God. Deception, the harlot in Gaza, deceived, and so did Delilah. You would think that by then Samson would have been alert to danger, but his consequence was defiled and his moral senses were destroyed. Samson even deceived himself by thinking he had everything under control, but he was wrong. Destruction. Someone has said that in verse 21 describes blinding, binding, and grinding the effects of sin. Samson walked in darkness and died in darkness. God forgave him and restored his strength, but he did not restore his sight. I think, okay. Did not restore his sight or his ministry. Samson may have died in victory, but he lived in moral and spiritual defeat. He destroyed God's enemies, but he did not live like God's friend. It's like, yeah, it's like everything he did almost was the same thing like David. You know, he lived trying to do things his own way, but nevertheless, God still was there for him. And he was still there for Samson. And he would, even if we make mistakes, and then even if we step away, we have to remember that whatever he saved us from before, you have to believe in your heart that he will be there again for you. No matter how many times, he will always be there. He will never abandon you. So if you ever go through trouble, or you ever feel like, yeah, I'm gonna do it my way, God, I'm good. No. And even if you fall flat on your face, God will be there to help you, pick you up, and get back on your feet. As long as you stand by him and live God's way, he will be there to give you victory or whatever it is you're going through. Okay, guys, I gotta go. That's it. So I had to say bye to you guys. I'll be with you guys in a minute. So like always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and definitely comment. And we'll see you tomorrow for Saturday Night Threads. Bye.
Come on.